July 1940. On the face of it, William Ewart Fairbairn was an ageing policeman, newly commissioned by the British Special Operations Executive, the SOE, as an army officer. The reality was, however, that this recently recruited soldier, this force of nature, could kill you in a dozen different ways. He was a survivor of literally hundreds of deadly knife fights in the years before World War II, whilst working the streets of Shanghai, China. His body was covered in the scars of these violent encounters. And so I put it to you that this man has to be a serious contender for the title of Most Dangerous Man of World War II. Shanghai Experience. Born in Hertfordshire, England in 1885, Captain Fairbairn joined the Royal Marines at age 16 in 1901 and was eventually stationed in Korea, where he began his long instruction in the martial arts. Throughout the period 1903 to 1907, Fairbairn learned all he could about hand-to-hand fighting, studying with Japanese martial artists and, interestingly, taking part in regular bayonet drills and bouts with the troops of the Imperial Japanese Army. So then, upon leaving the Royal Marines in 1907, Fairbairn travelled to Shanghai, China, where he promptly joined the Shanghai Municipal Police, a multinational unit comprised mostly of Chinese, albeit with a strong cadre of British, Sikh and Japanese men, and responsible for policing the international settlement. The settlement included red light districts that were a hotbed of criminal activity, and it was one of these that Constable Fairbairn was tasked to patrol, and where he experienced his first brutal street fights. Fairbairn was to spend the next 3 decades in Shanghai. Whilst there, Fairbairn continued to study the fighting arts. He studied Ju-Jitsu and Judo with Japanese masters, boxing, knife fighting and practical pistol shooting with the SMP, honing his skills in the gym and on the streets combating a motley assortment of Chinese gangsters and criminals. From 1925 to 1935, Fairbairn set up and led the so-called Reserve Unit, often described as a riot squad, but in effect the world's first SWAT team. Over his 10-year tenure, Fairbairn pioneered highly innovative tactics and training for this special police unit, along with his friend and colleague, Eric Anthony Sykes, more of whom later. As a part of his development in innovative police work, Fairbairn oversaw the use of special procedures such as house clearing, where officers were trained under conditions of stress to enter buildings and clear rooms using their firearms effectively. To this end, he helped develop bulletproof shields and 2 levels of body armour rated from standard pistol rounds to Mauser 7.63mm high velocity. During his long tenure at the Shanghai Municipal Police, Fairbairn codified his eclectic experiences and training methods in hand-to-hand combat, pistol shooting and knife fighting into his own system called Defendu, otherwise described by him as gutter fighting, where the objective was to get tough, get down in the gutter, win at all costs. As such, he penned various titles on the subject, including Defendu, 1926, and an array of later illustrated books including All In Fighting, 1942. Training Commandos. Fairbairn's 3 decades of service in Shanghai came to an end in May 1940, whence he returned to the UK with Eric Sykes and was swiftly inducted into the Special Operations Executive, the secretive British World War II organisation tasked with espionage, sabotage and reconnaissance in Nazi-occupied Europe. So from July 1940, Fairbairn was tasked with passing on his unique experience in combat to the fledgling British Army Commandos, formed by personal directive of Prime Minister Winston Churchill after the retreat from France in order to strike back at the Germans. He was soon given the nickname Dangerous Dan by the SOE. and went on to train several noted units, including commandos, No. 2 Dutch Troop 10th Inter-Allied Commando Forces, and various American and Canadian Special Forces, including US Army Rangers. Fairbairn passed on his code of gutter fighting, teaching these soldiers the necessity of forgetting such luxuries as the Queensberry rules. He said, "I teach what is called gutter fighting. There's no fair play, no rules except one, kill or be killed." He appeared in several training films, including Unarmed Combat, 1941, narrated by actor cum commando David Niven. This film showcased the strikes, holds and throws of Defendu, and not just for the Special Forces, but for the British Home Guard too. The legendary American director John Ford used Fairbairn in his film OSS Training Center, 1942, where he once again demonstrated his fighting skills, this time also point shooting techniques, which would come to be adopted and developed by the US Army through Rex Applegate. Fairbairnsykes fighting knife. Now we come to the iconic Fairbairnsykes fighting knife, developed by Fairbairn and Eric Sykes and made famous by its adoption as official combat knife of the British Army Commandos and other units. Notably, this knife or dagger continues in production in Sheffield, England, and is still purchased today by British Royal Marine Commandos, the inheritors of the first Army Commandos raised in 1940. This was not the only bladed weapon developed by Fairbairn. The Smatchet, a leaf-bladed knife that was more a heavy slicing weapon, rather akin to a bolo but said to be based on a design from the trenches of World War I, was issued to the SAS and OSS and was considered an effective close-quarters knife. However, the Smatchet is an obscure item compared to its much more famous brother. Double-edged and with a narrow, tapering blade between 6.5 and 7 inches in length, the Fairbairnsykes was primarily designed to thrust and capable of penetrating the heavy greatcoat issued to German troops. The knife could also be used to slash as per Fairbairn's Defendu doctrine. The design was based on Fairbairn and Sykes' experiences knife fighting in Shanghai service and was found to be particularly deadly in sentry removal by the commandos in their hit-and-run raids all over Europe and beyond. To quote Fairbairn in his book Get Tough, 1942, "There is no more deadly weapon than the knife. An entirely unarmed man has no certain defense against it, and further, merely the sudden flashing of a knife is frequently enough to strike fear into your opponent." But what are your thoughts? Is Fairbairn a worthy candidate for most dangerous man of the Second World War? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below and please like and subscribe to this channel if you find this kind of content interesting.